What's up, guys? So I wanted to make this video during what seems to be the heart of COVID. Here in Hong Kong, we're getting hit pretty bad every single day. But I wanted to make sure, just give a little hope to everybody that, you know, we're gonna make it through this, but at the same time, we wanna make it through stronger on the other end when we come out of there. Now, I know it can be very demotivating to everyone stuck in the house all the time. So I wanted to make this video to give you guys a little bit of info on what you can do, especially if you have kids, on 3 important motor skills that we can work on even if you're at home. Okay, so we're gonna get right into it and we're gonna dive into a little bit of detail. Okay, so the first motor skill that we can work on, regardless of how much space you have, is catching. Right? So this is one thing that kids really need to be able to work on. And if they can develop that hand-eye coordination at a very young age, they are way ahead of the curve. All right? This is one of the things that is the hardest to develop, but over repetition and different variations, which I'm going to be talking about, it can be developed. So use this time and create that new skill. So when it's time to go back to school, or it's time to join that basketball team, or whatever the goal is, right? They're nice and ready. So what we're going to look at, again, catching is the first skill. We're going to look at the bounce, we're going to be looking at scoop, we're going to be looking at the regular pass, and we're going to be looking at the one-handed pass. So if I was to teach a new learner how to catch, the first thing I want to take away is the speed of the ball. So I want to make it as easy as possible. So I always start with a bounce. It's a bounce pass, okay? Whether it's a basketball, whether it's a tennis ball, no matter what it is, it should be a bounce pass to alleviate that velocity coming toward them, so that they're not scrunching up in a ball and not looking at the ball, which just kind of defeats the purpose of it. But we want to give them that confidence that we're taking away the velocity, that ground absorbed a lot of the force. Boom, they can go ahead and catch that. Right, the next one, now I'm not going to throw it at the floor, I'm going to throw it at them, but I'm still alleviating that velocity by implementing a little arc, okay? So it's not coming directly at them. I'm going to implement it with a little bit of an arc, and what's going to usually happen with kids, which is pretty cool, is they're going to body catch the ball, no matter how slow it's going. They're going to want to catch it like that to support it with their body, okay? Obviously, we want to start with something a little bit softer, a ball that's a little bit softer, before we go into, say, even tennis balls or lacrosse balls or whatever you have at home, right? They're gonna body catch that. But then after we get used to it, right, we wanna say, okay, active fingers, and then we wanna go into our regular catch, which is gonna be really important. That really gives them the confidence. You know that a kid, once they can catch the ball with 2 hands without body catching it, now they're onto something. Once they get a little bit better at that, then we're gonna challenge them to catch it with 1 hand, okay, both. You don't want to leave that left hand. They're not going to want to use their left hand because they're not as good, or sorry, whichever their weak hand is. They're not going to want to use that hand. So again, we go back to the scoop, okay, and just get them used to that and give them the confidence. So guys, catching is the first one. Now, if you have a kid who is amazing and he's self-motivated to work on catching by himself, right, then he can work just up against a wall. And at the same time, if he can work up against the wall, he's working on throwing as well as catching. That's even better, right? But if you are a parent and want to motivate your kids to work on catching, right, then that's definitely another option. You can either do it with siblings or parents, but just something to keep them active, guys. Just something to keep them active. Another huge one is the variation of the ball. So what I do with a lot of our kids is I take different balls. So I'm just going to give you an example. I might take a balloon, okay? So they're different materials, they move at different speeds. So it's that variety that really gets that motor learning and ingrained in their brain, and it really solidifies that skill. It's really amazing. So the different shapes of the ball, it should obviously be size appropriate, but you want to throw maybe an American football, a rugby ball, a reaction ball, a tennis ball, a golf ball, and the sizes would be all different, right? And the velocity of which they move would also be different. So that is a major key in developing the skill of catching. All right, next one. Obviously, it's going to be throwing. Now, there might not be a lot of room in the house, but that really doesn't matter. It's more about developing that variety in terms of how far the distance is, right? So we can come in really close, they can throw really close, and then I can slowly back up into whatever space you have available to you, and then just vary it a little bit. Because a lot of the kids nowadays, they're more indoors than before, okay? They want to be on the computer more than they want to be outside. When you're outside and you have a lot of space, boom, you can throw it as hard as you can, right? That's not always the case, especially if you're in an urban area. So we want to we want to be a good example on how to throw the ball, okay, whipping it from your hip, and then it's a quick release through your hand, so it's not all from your arm, right? It's really coming down from the ground. But they need a good example of that. Then the next thing when it comes to throwing is you want a static target. So when we look at a static target, say if you have the ball, I'm just not moving and I'm just catching, and I throw it back to you, that's static. What's something that's very, very important, a lot of studies have shown is very important in motor development, is now I'm going to be moving. I'm going to be moving in different directions. Say I have a certain speed and they need to be able to correlate where the ball goes in order for me to catch it. Because if they're throwing it to me here, oh, well, I'm moving out of the way, that's not a great throw. But I want to go very slow in the beginning so that they can see I actually need to throw the ball in front of them for them to be able to catch it. That's very, very important. Then the last one, guys, you know what, this is something that was, has a lot of research has been done about this, and I fully love doing this, is crawling and jumping. So what we want to do is we want to make a little mini obstacle course. Now, you're going to have to be creative depending on how much space you have, whatever objects or equipment that you have. You really don't need any equipment, right? And to be honest, all you need is like maybe 1 or 2 objects. It could be like a sofa, or it could even be like a little mini hurdle that you have at home. It really doesn't matter. What matters the most is that you're blending the different movements in together. So say for example, and I'll talk about imagination later, that they're pretending that they're in an army and people are shooting at them down there. They have to crawl through the hurdles, right? And then they have to jump over, I don't know, like, even if you line up different balls, jump over the balls because those are landmines, something to make it fun like that. When they don't actually know that they're working on major movement patterns, but all they're thinking is that it's fun, it's a game, sometimes we even make it a story, and then for both sides, the parent and the kid, we gotta use our imagination. So guys, again, the reason I wanted to make this video is because I know times are tough, I know it's hard to go out, but that's still not an excuse. We need to be doing everything that we can to help our kids, no matter how much space we have at home, develop the proper motor skills so that we can set them up to be the best possible athlete that they can be, but more importantly, to develop them as a functional human being. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your comments. Leave any questions or comments in the comments section, and we'll see you next time.